before that, um, I'll tell you what. Next week I'm going to start, and I'm going to do a little bit on each Dr. Lamsa and Dr. Erico, just a little more things so that we understand what the work is. But I'm going to hold off and do that next week. Okay, so to start tonight, and where Joseph is going to encounter his brothers. All right, we need to go back to Genesis 37. Okay, remember, Joseph had the dream, these two dreams, and that's why his brothers got rid of him. So Genesis, okay, verse 6. And he said to them, listen to this dream, which I have dreamed. This is Joseph. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and bowed down to my sheaf. And then the second dream that he had, and he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, behold, I have dreamed another dream. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to me. Now, when we're reading this, remember this is symbolism, and the 11 stars are the 11 brothers. So when we read this, and what we see is this dream actually come true. Okay, so all right, and then we're picking up in Genesis 41 where we left off last week, and and Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. Okay, remember he's now the governor over all of Egypt. And in 7 plenteous years, the land brought forth abundantly. And he gathered up all the grain of the 7 plenteous years which were in the land of Egypt, and stored up the grain in towns. The grain of the fields, which was round about every town, he stored in the same. And this is really important here, verse 49. And Joseph stored up grain as the sand of the sea, very much, until he was tired of numbering it, for it was without number. Now, a couple things about this. This is an example, again, of symbolism, but amplification. And that is amplification is how it's literary, okay? And they like to exaggerate everything. But you see, Joseph stored up grain as the sand of the sea. It's just multiplied tons of it. And so it was without number. But referring to Joseph's spiritual journey, Joseph still stayed on course. And remember, the Pharaoh is the one that had the dream about there would be 7 years plenty, 7 years famine. But Joseph, I just call it Joseph, stayed under the influence of God, put his nose to the grindstone, so to speak. And he was making sure that there would be grain in the times of famine. Okay, now we get to the story. Well, no, wait. And the 7 years of plenty that were in the land of Egypt came to an end. And the 7 years of famine began to come according as Joseph had said. And there was famine in all lands, and in all the land of Egypt there was no bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people complained against Pharaoh because of the lack of bread. And Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, go to Joseph, and what he says to you, do. And the famine was over all the face of the land. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians. And the famine was severe in the land of Egypt, and people from all lands came to Egypt to Joseph to buy grain because the famine was severe in all lands. Okay, now let's start reading the story. Albert, you want to help?
Sure. Okay. Now, when Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, fear not. Behold, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy for us from there, that we may live and not die. And so Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob did not send with his brothers, for he said, lest some misfortune might befall him.
Okay. And the sons of Israel came to buy grain with those that came, for the famine was severe in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was who sold the grain to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the ground. Remember the dream we just read from verse 37. Here they are bowing down to Joseph, just like his dream said. And Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them. But he deceived them and spoke harshly to them. And he said to them, where have you come from? And they said, we came from the land of Canaan to buy grain. And Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Then Joseph remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them and said to them, you are spies. You have come to get a report about the land. And they said to him, no, our Lord, but to buy grain your servants have come. We are all one man's sons. We are pious men. Your servants are not spies. And Joseph said to them, it is not so, but to get a report about the land you have come. So you see, Joseph is being true. He's not being cruel, but he's being true. And okay, Albert, go ahead.
And they said to him, your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is dead. And Joseph said to them, it is just as I said to you, you are spies. By this you shall be proved. By the life of Pharaoh, you shall not go forth from this place, except your younger brother comes here. Send one of you and let him bring your brother, and you shall be bound in prison, so that your words may be proved, to see if your statements are true. And if they are not true, by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies. And he put them all together in prison for 3 days.
Okay. Now remember, the younger brother that they're talking about is Benjamin. And Joseph and Benjamin were Jacob's sons to Rachel. And Jacob considered Rachel to be, quote, the wife, even though he had sons to Leah first. So the young brother they're talking about is Benjamin. And Joseph, of course, is has missed his brother Benjamin, but that's who he's talking about here. Wait, did I skip?
That's where it was.
Is that what, I'm sorry, is that what Albert just read?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and he put them in prison for 3 days. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Okay, and on the third day, Joseph said to them, do this and live, for I worship God. Here we go again. If you are pious men, let one of your brothers be bound in your prison, and the rest of you go and carry grain for the famished who are in your household. But bring your youngest brother to me, so shall your words be verified, and you shall not die. And they did so. And what they did, okay, they are leaving one of the brothers there. So that the other brothers are to go and bring the youngest brother back. The brother that they're leaving there, it doesn't say it right here, but it will say it. It will say it in the next, not directly, but in the next verses. But it's Simon that they left there. And so, so the brothers are starting to feel guilty, concerned, and they said to one another, truly we are guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not listen to him. Therefore is this distress come upon us. And Reuben answered and said to them, did I not tell you, do not sin against the boy? But you did not listen. So now his blood is required. And they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them by an interpreter. All right, and I have here, okay, we're back to Genesis 37 again. And this is where, and Reuben heard about the brother's plot. And he delivered, this is back when they were selling Joseph, and he delivered him out of their hands. And he said to them, let us not kill him. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood, throw him into this pit that is in the wilderness, but do not harm him, that he might deliver him from their hands and bring him back to his father. So of course, the brothers are arguing again, because Reuben had said, hey, you know, I told you, and you know how that goes with the brothers and siblings. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Albert.
And he turned aside from them and wept. And he returned to them again and conversed with them, and took Simon from them and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph commanded the servants to fill their sacks with wheat, and to restore every man's money to his sack, and to give them provisions for the journey. And they did so for them. And they loaded their asses with their wheat and departed thence. And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender in the end, he saw his money in the mouth of his sack. And he said to his brothers, my money has been returned, and lo, it is in the mouth of my sack. And their hearts failed them, and they were amazed, staring at one another, saying, what is this that God has done to us?
So you can understand how they Joseph, even though he called them spies, and he was kind of playing this little game with them, he gave them their money back. It was still his family. He gave them their money back and sent them on their way. And of course, when the brothers, remember, what is this that God has done to us? Remember that belief system that God was good and God did good things, but God also did did bad things, and they did not know what this meant. They thought maybe, well, because remember they said they were spies. Joseph said, "Oh, they're spies," and so if they have the money, and it would look like they had stolen the money or kept it, I don't know, or stolen the grain, but that's just one of the points, and of course it's just Joseph doing his thing. Okay, and they came to Jacob their father to the land of Canaan and told him all that had befallen them, saying, the man who is the Lord of the land spoke roughly to us and took us for spies in the land. And of course, they're talking about Joseph. But we said to him, we are pious men, we are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father, and one is dead, which is supposed to be Joseph. And the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, by this shall I know that you are pious men. Leave one of your brothers here with me and take wheat for the famished who are in your households and go your way. And bring your youngest brother to me. Then shall I know that you are not spies, but that you are pious men. So I will deliver your brother to you, and you shall trade in the land. Now, just another point to remember. Remember, Jacob believes that Joseph is dead. And that is why he is reluctant to send Benjamin anywhere out of his sight, because those were technically his two sons by Rachel. So that's why Jacob is just reticent about sending Benjamin, because that means he would just lose both of his favored sons. Okay, and it came to pass as they emptied their sacks in their home now, behold, every man's bag of money was in his sack. And when both they and their father saw the bags of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, you have bereaved me of my children. Joseph is dead, and Simon is missing. And now you will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me. Then Reuben said to his father, put to death my two sons if I do not bring him back to you, and trust him to me, and I will bring him back to you. And he said, this is Jacob, and Jacob said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left to his mother. It's the only son of Rachel's left. If misfortune should befall him by the way in which you go, then you shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. Then Jacob just said he would die, essentially. And okay, so this is the chapter, the end of chapter 42, and pardon me, I should have put on this next slide, to be continued. But we'll just summarize this for now, and then the next time we will see what's happening with Benjamin. But to just kind of look at this, Joseph's dream came true. We saw them bowing down to Joseph, even though they don't know it now. Joseph's dream came true. Pharaoh's dream came true, and the famine. They had the plentiful 7 years, and then the famine. But they are surviving the famine because Joseph built up all the grain in Egypt, and people from everywhere were coming were coming to Egypt to get grain. And so we kind of go back here to the, I always revert back to what Jesus taught. And by the way, I know I probably have said this many times, but Jesus taught from the Torah, okay? Because Jesus grew up right there in Nazareth, just like all the other Jewish boys, and he knew the Torah, and that is what he taught. He taught from the Torah, and so all of these things that we hear in the New Testament, we like to take the New Testament and say, okay, this is Jesus, and this is it's Jesus, but Jesus, you can from the New Testament, you can trace his teachings back to the Old Testament. Now, I'm not sure that this one is emphasized, but it is the same thing. Joseph, Joseph loves his brothers in spite of their actions against him. And think about this. What would you do, or how would you be? All right. I mean, his brothers just sold him away, and they didn't know where he was, and really they didn't care because he had he was the favored son, and brothers did that. But Joseph, once again, just under the influence of God. That's all I can put it. And that's what the spiritual journey is all about. So next time we'll see how they resolve this thing, and we will see that Jacob will finally learn that his son Joseph is not dead. Okay. Anybody have any comments, or let me go there. All right. Just to I just emphasize this. Okay, we are a non-profit officially now, and so we actually we rely on contributions. We have we do sell some books and whatnot, and basically this is something that we do. We have been doing now for probably 5-6 years, and it's something we love to do. But if you're so inclined, we appreciate contributions. And of course, all of the commentaries